Hey there everybody, welcome to the channel. We're talking about the Nikon 180 to 600 Z lens. Now this is just a bread and butter reasons, top 10 reasons why you would want to ditch the Sigma 150 to 600 contemporary or similar F-mount lenses for the Z mount. Now I've covered this lens in great depth and detail from the channel. There's like a 2.5 hour long video if you want to check that out after this. And this is just to answer a lot of the questions people ask, like forums, Facebook, whatnot. Why should you upgrade from like a F-mount to this? And why is it worth the price tag of nearly $1,800 now, since the price increased like a year ago? So the first thing that you're going to want to think about for getting a new lens is weather sealing. Now, some of the F-mount versions of this, like the Tamron 150 to 600, it does have weather sealing, and like the Sigma does not. Sigma Sport does. There's so many different lenses, I'm not going to run through them. So after that is going to be Syncro VR. Gives you better stabilization. There is no, if I can find the switches, there is no stabilization switch on this lens. It is just your autofocus distances and your autofocus or manual focus. The VR is controlled within the camera. And if you use this on a camera that has Speed 7 or higher, you will gain half a stop more in stabilization. And another big standout for this is the internal zoom. So we're at 180, you're at 600. Lens stays the same size, which is super awesome if you're on a tripod or you want to keep your balance on like a fluid head or a gimbal, anything like that. It's extremely useful for that. The next thing is going to be the programmable button, this LFN right here. There's 4 around the whole barrel that operate as one button, so you can only program one item to it. But for me, I usually have single point programmed to it, so that if I'm 3D tracking, I can press the button, and then I can put the the camera autofocus point on the subject, let go, and it'll switch back to like 3D tracking or whatever I might be using. It really helps to cut through the brush. And this next part is pretty useful for people to shoot video. Now you have a knurled manual focus right here. It's nice and wide. It's probably about as wide as my finger, which is still pretty nice. And it's very grippy, easy to grab, and it's super smooth. It's not like that Sigma one where it's like, like this wide and such a pain to use. This thing, it feels nice and premium, and after a year of using it a lot, it is still super smooth. Really nice bonus to this is it's going to have very, very quiet autofocus noise to the motors inside. You're not going to hear any chittery noises during autofocus like you will on an F-mount adapted to Z camera. So if you're shooting in a time where you need to be really quiet, like on blind or anything like that, you don't want to spook the animal. The autofocus, super quiet. It's really nice, especially if you're able to shoot like a Z8, Z9 and you are shooting shutterless. And then when it comes to the zoom throw on here, going from 180 to 600, it's literally like, that's it. So it makes it really easy to zoom in and out to find your subject without, making 1.5 turns like you would on a Sigma or something similar. This is mainly for the Sigma, but it has 2 threaded holes on the foot, which is super useful if you're putting this thing on a tripod and you don't want to twist loose without having to buy like an extra adapted foot or replacing the whole foot. This thing comes with it. It does not have an Arca Swiss plate on it built in, but with so many different like standards for plates for on cameras, if you need it, you're going to buy the plate for your tripod. So this is one of my favorite things about this lens, is that at 180 millimeters, okay, you're about 1.5 meters closer focusing than the Sigma Contemporary, and it's closer than pretty much all the other versions of 150 to 600-ish lens out there. So that's really cool. I really appreciate that. And then we also have the match with it, the reproduction ratio, and it is 0.25, so you can take some semi-fake macro photos with it, and it works pretty decent. It's like flowers and butterflies on them and things like that. If you put a teleconverter on this, you can increase your magnification and get it up to about 0.3 or so. Number 11, big bonus, So if you see those lenses, like a 150-600 ones that zoom externally, you can get those camo covers put on here, and if you zoom, the camo covers stay in place, and you don't have like a lens barrel extend that's like exposed black with your camo cover. One, that looks silly. Two, breaks up the camo pattern, so it kind of defeats the purpose. So if you found that interesting, talking about basically top 11 tips and reasons why you should get this and upgrade from a f-mount 150 to 600 like lens, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you get everything in the future. And until next time, I'll see you out there. Happy shooting.